The world as we've known it has changed dramatically in ways that are just unimaginable. Physical closeness, a simple handshake, our ability to even recognize each other at first glance has been impeded by face coverings. Industries have become guarded when it comes to our personal space, especially. People are flying less as well. But when this emerges again, fully, what can they expect on the in-flight service? Food, particularly, in this case. So to speak to us today about this is the CEO of JetWest Airlines, a new emerging brand in the aviation industry.
Mr. Diko Nwachukwu, welcome to Food Journey. I'm so pleased that you've been able to come and link up and talk to us today.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here with you today, and I'm really looking forward to this chat.
I think the first question has to be, tell us, what kind of mindset must one have to take on such a Herculean task as starting an airline brand in such a competitive world industry? I mean, fitting in and surviving within that industry.
Aviation is a very tough business. It's not for the faint-hearted. I think you will see a changing of the guard post-COVID in Nigeria and African aviation. It's truly a remarkable business. The margins are extremely thin. You've got to be incredibly innovative and focused on running your business with a lot of discipline to make it work. And there are quite a few things that are not in your control. But that notwithstanding, it's terribly joyous when you can actually change people's lives and give people a chance to do things they never believed they could do. And yeah, it's all around, it's a fantastic business, quite frankly.
Now, when I was much younger and didn't have a fear of flying, which I seem to somehow do now, I used to really look forward to the food experience, of course, on the flight. You know, what are you going to have? How's it going to look, smell, taste like? And, you know, it was all very exciting for me. So now, with this changing world, what is the think tank like for deciding what the in-flight food experience is going to be?
Okay, so there are two very different types of air travel. There's short-haul travel and there's long-haul travel. And it's almost, they're two very different cost centers in terms of everything from catering to the operations of it. But let's focus on the catering and the food service, which is what we're talking about here. For short-haul flights, what tends to be happening now globally is that more and more airlines are cutting back on short-haul food service. If you want something, they offer you the option of purchasing that on board. And so what's happening is a lot of airlines globally, and we're doing the same thing here in Nigeria at JetWest, we're partnering with really credible third-party vendors who will be responsible for the type of food that we'll serve on board. So it would be everything from sandwiches to really lovely biscuits, stuff that you can consume very quickly in a short, 1 to 2 hour flight. Now, when you talk about long-haul flights, there are many considerations. So if you're flying with a premium carrier like a British Airways or an Emirates or a Qatar, then even in economy you have an incredible array of food. So it usually in economy comes on one food tray where you have, they try to give you a very nutritionally balanced diet. So it is everything from a salad to a main course, which is usually either chicken or beef, or vegetarian option, which is now very big these days. And you have a dessert option as well, and there's coffee and crackers and cheese. So you get a whole array of things. Of course, if you go into business class and you go to first class, then it's, the world truly is your oyster at that point. You can have literally anything that you can imagine as food as you start to move up the different classes and pay more for it. For us, again, because we are what is deemed a low-cost carrier, which means that our premise is to keep our cost down so that we can pass that savings on to the passengers who want to travel by air. We don't have as much of a high focus on the level of catering. And when I say that, that doesn't mean we're going to give you crappy catering. It just means that it is not a priority for us as an airline. We would much rather pass that responsibility onto a third party who is an expert at providing quality food and quality arrangements. So yes, there is a quality level that we expect on the aircraft. And you know, that quality is what people will decide if they want to pay for it or they don't want to pay for it. But it will range everywhere from pastries to probably sandwiches. I doubt we're going to have any full course meals on our aircraft because our flights typically will be under an hour and a half. So we don't have as much of a heavy focus on providing a super high quality meal, but rather something that's nutritious, that's delicious, something that you would actually look forward to having or possibly taking home to your family because it's so tasty.
And as the CEO of this airline, would you be interested in getting involved even in that aspect, the food aspect, by maybe even trying out the food and seeing that the best quality is being presented to your passengers?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's important for us that whatever we bring on board our aircraft must be approved by us in the airline. We have to know that it's something that we like, because I mean, after all, we're Nigerians, we're Africans, so we would know we know what our taste buds are like. And also too, our suppliers are also Nigerian and African, so they also know what the typical Nigerian passenger would appreciate in terms of the kind of quality of food. We also want to offer a healthy option because now health has become a very important part of the lives of our people. So, you know, we want to give people a chance to get the right kind of, maybe it's wraps or something along those lines that's healthy and still very tasty and just, you know, gives you energy, makes you feel good. So we want to offer all of that. And we also, you know, we're talking quite a bit about food, but we haven't talked much about beverages. And we want to give people a chance to again, experience what they would experience anywhere else but on a short-haul flight. But again, and I'll make this quite clear, it's pay for what you want. So if you want a glass of wine, perhaps, or if you want a beer, or if you want a soft drink, you can get those on board our aircraft. We'll be offering those as part of our service, but it's a pay as you pay for what exactly you want. But you have those options. So we think that's going to go down quite well with a lot of our travelers.
All right, now I'm going to ask you a personal question. In your flight experiences in life, what has been the best in-flight food experience that you have had, whether you're traveling first class, business class, or economy? Tell us.
Well, this is a great question because I'm a big fan of a number of airlines, but I think my most amazing experience that I've had was on Air France, on the Air France flight from Atlanta through Paris to Lagos, and I was privileged enough to be in La Première, which is their first class, and the food service between Atlanta and Paris was exquisite. It was absolutely out of this world. We had an option, a variety of things, starting from the starters and the kind of wines they had. And I think I spent the whole flight, all 9 hours of that flight, eating something because it was that fantastic. It was brilliant. I mean, you know, everything from seafood to lamb shanks to the amazing wines I had on board. It was brilliant. But I'm sure by the time we landed in Paris, they were glad to see the back of me because I'd eaten them dry. You know, I drank them dry as well. But it was absolutely brilliant. So Air France, fantastic. I've also been on Qatar Airways, where on business class, again, it's a fantastic service. Truly remarkable what these guys think about and how they put that all together on a small tray on these flights. So, you know, once I get a chance to fly long haul, I like to be on airlines that take care of their passengers really, really well. There's some airlines out of Asia that I've never been on that I've heard are brilliant. So Singapore Airways, Eva Air, Cathay Pacific. I've also heard that they've got superb, even economy meals, superb business class, superb first class meals. And I'm looking forward to days I can actually try those, because I think that would be so much fun.
Yes. Well, a lot has changed now in this new COVID world we live in, and this has affected our personal interactions in the air and even before you get on the plane. Now, my question really is, I've heard in some circles that some airlines were even considering that people bring in their own snack on board, which is sort of an interesting, crazy idea. What do you think of something as weird as that?
Well, in Nigeria, the government has decided to ban food service on board, just as a way to make sure that things stay sanitary for the time being. It's a good step, but I think also one of the things we're seeing is that there can be other ways to give people an option to purchase food or pick up food before they get on board. But this whole idea of bring your own food on board, I'm not sure that I like this one, Sonia, to be honest with you. I think that you've got to be very careful, especially when you're trying to keep your aircraft clean, you're trying to keep your aircraft in a specific manner. Certain foods don't quite work on planes. And if you give people a chance to bring their own food on board, you don't know what you're going to get. So I'd truly advise against that. For now, there's going to be no food service on the aircraft. It's actually going to save airlines a lot of money, especially those ones that add that to your ticket. So if I'm you guys, I'll ask airlines to make sure that you're taking that food portion out of my ticket. And overall, it's a good idea to remove the food. And I think COVID has shown us that many things that we took for granted before might not be necessary on a very short flight. For people like us who are coming to the market with the mentality that you could opt in or opt out for food, and you can decide to pay or not pay for it, this is what we've been talking about the whole time. So typically when I fly locally, I don't eat on the aircraft because it's a 1-hour flight. And quite frankly, I'm not too pleased with what I've received. And that's not anyone's fault, I understand, but I've not been pleased with it. So this actually would help a lot of people, post-COVID, to just figure out how to make things, safer and more sanitary going forward.
Now, how do you think that science might get involved in this sort of new age airline food industry? Now, I want you to think sci-fi, take it to the nth degree. For instance, I've heard of and seen in sci-fi movies where you take this little pill, and once you've done that, your stomach's full and you're not even thinking about food. What do you think about this?
That's a very interesting question, Sonia. Well, I guess in the space station they have the little pills they can pop, and then as you said earlier, they feel full after they've had that. I'm not 100% certain how that would work in the short term here, but if one was thinking if you can find ways to give people food either maybe through the ventilators on the aircraft or something, maybe that'd be great, or through an oxygen mask that drops from the sky. Who knows? Maybe that would actually save you some money and actually make passengers less willing to eat food on the aircraft. I'm kidding, no. But seriously, I think science is looking for ways to make food on the aircraft more sanitary. So there's all of this bubble wrapping and I don't know what the word is for right now, but when you use a cling film and you make sure it's vacuum packing, that's the word, vacuum packed food. I'm not sure how that would affect the quality of the food or the taste of the food. I guess only time will tell. But yes, there's definitely a move towards vacuum packing, sanitary, pre-packed foods. I think you'll see a rise in maybe brasseries or patisseries partnering with airlines to bring that sort of pre-packaged food where they can actually vouch for the sanitary process before the food is brought to the aircraft. And passengers will more than likely take food away from the aircraft and not eat food on the aircraft as much as they did in the past. So these are the shifts that we'll see happening. It'll be interesting to see what we can come up with from a science standpoint to sort of change the whole mindset about onboard food. But that would be brilliant. If, as you said earlier, if you can pop a pill and I feel full, hey, that's the savings from a weight standpoint in terms of the amount of fuel that the aircraft burns, from a space standpoint, for the amount of things we've got to carry on the aircraft. So we might have to look at that very carefully. That's an interesting idea, actually, right there. Interesting idea.
Very interesting indeed. Now, I think the last question is, what do you see personally as your biggest challenge for starting this airline brand such that your passengers are going to feel like they're having a safe experience flying your airline, and that they can be mentally assured of that by yourself and those who work in your company?
It's a very good question, Sonia. I think more than anything else right now, health is what everyone is worried about. In fact, it's the priority on everybody's mind. Today, flying started again domestically in Nigeria, and there's all the social distancing that's coming into place, wearing of masks and all of those things. I think that for us as well, we're looking at ways on how we can streamline that service. So whether it's pre-testing and loading that onto a system that we can verify very quickly when you come to the airport, to making sure that whatever we give you is properly sanitized. In fact, for us, we're trying to go contactless, so you don't have to deal with anybody if you don't want to, between when you buy a ticket and when you get off the aircraft in your destination. So we're trying very hard to figure out ways to keep you safe through that process. If we can add a sanitized, fantastic food experience to that as well, we would love to do that and offer that to you, and perhaps encourage passengers to take that with them home, so that it's packaged in a way that when you take it home, either to your kids or to to whoever you want to give it to, they'd be like, oh wow, this is great, and that would be a great way for them to say, when I fly, I want to fly JetWest. So it's a number of things. Health is number one right now for everybody across the board. Making sure that is a top priority is everyone's priority. And as I said earlier, if we can add the right kind of food to that, and we can make it still tasty and attractive and all of those things, then I think we'll be doing extremely well.
Well, I'd like to thank you so much, Mr. Dikun Nwachukwu, for coming to speak to us today about the airline industry as it pertains to food and catering. I've learned a lot myself, and I wish you all the best with your airline, and maybe hope to fly it myself one day. Thanks so much for coming on Food Journey.
Well, thank you so much, Sonia. Truly, truly a pleasure to be on this with you. I've been a big fan of Food Journey, and I'm happy that I'm finally featuring on the Food Journey. And from all of us here at JetWest, we wish you so much luck, so much success, and we look forward to being on again in the near future. Take care.
Thank you very much.
When we eat on a plane, it's usually an offering of beef or chicken. Standard is the small steak, 2 vegetables, a starch, and a dessert.
Now today my challenge is to combine and condense that meal and create an inexpensive, in-flight, short-haul, takeaway lunch pack. Sounds like fun.
On the menu today, we're making something healthy, hygienically packed, and that can be taken away or not, just like our CEO suggested. So fasten your seatbelts. Here's our table of ingredients, and included in the mix today, replacing beef, is the underrated chicken gizzard.
Okay, so let's get started with these gizzards first before we do anything else with the sauce. They need to go into some water and soften up, all right? With a little salt and a few aromatics. So let's just get those all in. Next, I'm putting in a bay leaf and a pinch of thyme. Little bit of salt. Boom. And that's it. Okay, time to prepare these other vegetables for the pasty. They're going to be steamed separately. I don't want them lost in the sauce. So we're steaming the carrots separately, little nice cubes. And we're also going to steam the potatoes as well separately. And then kind of put everything together like a puzzle. It will all make sense.
The potato and carrots will be steamed side by side in the steamer basket for 5 minutes. We don't want them breaking down.
So these gizzards are now ready. They're soft, okay? And there's a reason why I'm sort of doing everything separately, cooking everything separately. It's because in this sauce that we're using for our pasty, I want the customer to be able to see everything and not sort of just see a squishy mélange of all the ingredients. So next thing is to cut these.
Sweet peppers, and now some thyme and curry. A little crushed garlic, the chopped gizzard, and 3 cups of chicken stock. And finally, those steamed veggies. Thicken with just a little cornstarch so the sauce isn't going to run out of the pastry, and freshen it all up with some parsley. Done. Now, just let this cool. So what will the future of airline takeaway onboard food look like? Maybe something like this. Convenient, cute, hygienic and portable. That's what I'm going for today. This has been truly a whole lot of experimental fun, hasn't it?
There you go. That's my new age short haul in-flight mini lunch. Now, the next time you go flying, you may have a meal that looks a little bit less like what you used to have before and a little bit more like this. Thanks for being with me today on Food Journey, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.